What's up guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. Today we are doing a tank tours episode on a lovely fancy goldfish pond, so make sure you stay tuned to find out more. Hey Fanatics family, welcome back. As always, check out the links in the description and make sure to check out Star Fisheries and Jimmy Goldfish USA, our sponsors on the channel. Today we're going to be looking at this really awesome fancy goldfish pond. I really love the way this pond has been set up. It's got loads of vegetation, loads of plants, and it has a really large space for all of the fancy goldfish within it. So I'm going to keep this intro short. We're going to get this tank, or this large pond, which is a tank essentially, on the channel. Let's get it on the video now and let's check it out. As you can see, we have a large selection of fancy goldfish in this pond, and it looks like we've got some water lettuce on the surface as well. I'm pretty sure we had this pond or a very similar pond on the channel already, but it had a slightly different stocking to it, so maybe the owner has a couple of ponds like this, or they've completely changed their stocking. But I'm really liking the different selection of fancies. Looks like we've got some absolutely stunning panda oranda with the lovely heavy black, heavy sumi and snow white skin. We've got some really nice ranchu, some oranda. I think there's a sort of telescope eye as well in there, and I really love viewing fancies from the top. Although fancies are mainly viewed from the side, they're mainly a side view fish. I absolutely love looking at them in this pond environment. As we can see, there is so much vegetation in this pond. Looks like we potentially have an elephant ear or some type of terrestrial water plant. We've also got lots of water lettuce and some other different plants as well. In the back corner, it looks like there is a huge barrel. Now I'm assuming this is probably a barrel filter. Likely with these sort of setups, you have a pump within the pond. This pumps up into a barrel, and those barrels generally are filled with filter sponges, alpha grog, loads and loads of media. And with the amount of media in those large barrels and those large DIY filters, they have so much beneficial bacteria and so much capability to process all of the waste that is produced by these fish. So really, this pond could have easily 100 goldfish in it, and that barrel filter would do an absolutely great job at filtering this pond. And not only does it have that absolutely huge filter, but we've also got the water lettuce, water lilies, maybe some other water plants as well, which are absolutely destroying those nitrates and phosphates that the fish are producing. The biofilter, or the large barrel filter, is reducing the ammonia, turning that into nitrite, and then the nitrite gets turned into nitrate. You'll also have other organics like phosphate, and those plants absolutely love to suck all of that up, photosynthesize, produce more leaves, grow bigger, and the cycle just continues. Here we can see the pond at night. Looks like we've got a few LEDs in it as well, which is really nice to see. Slightly different idea. I haven't really seen many, if not any, fancy goldfish ponds with different coloured lighting in them, but I'm sure in summer, sitting by this pond, or when the weather is nice and warm in the evenings, it will be absolutely lovely to have this all lit up with maybe a nice glass of something to drink or a nice meal next to the pond, with the sound of water and just these absolutely gorgeous chubby fancy goldfish in there as well. Now, many people might find that their fancy goldfish destroy plants and absolutely rip them to shreds, and I would say this is the case on some fish but not on others. I would say it's really trial and error, trying different fancies with different types of plants. You can have some really hardy plants like Anubias or Java fern, which sit under the water column, and these may get ripped to shreds. Or you could try something like a Lodia densa, which is an oxygenating plant, but that is quite a soft plant, so that normally does get attacked or ripped to shreds by our lovely fancies. But here we can see we have some floating plants. Now these look like we've got the water lettuce, and only the fish can access the roots underneath, and generally if you have a lot or enough water lettuce or floating plant to cover a large area or large surface area of your tank or your pond, as the fish nibble on the roots or suck on the roots, generally the population is large enough to sustain itself, so the fish also get that natural behaviour, being able to forage for food and mulm through the roots, suck on the roots, etc. But the plant isn't damaged too much and they can still multiply and grow using up the nutrients within the system. Also, another benefit to having lots of floating plants like this is that they cover a lot of surface area, which stops light penetrating through, growing lots of nuisance algae, and it also provides a little shelter if there are any predators, especially if your pond is outside. I, for one, have a regular cat that loves to jump on top of the polycarbonate covers that I have on the pond and try and get the fish through them. Luckily it can't because it has covers, but if you have enough floating plants like water lilies or large pads that you can cover the water with, it provides the fish a little bit of refuge and a safe haven to hide from these fish, which will make them more secure, feel more secure, and then they will come out more generally at feeding times, and over the months they will get a lot used to you and coming over when you come to feed them, so it can help them feel a little bit more safe in their environment as well. Looks like as well the return from the barrel filter has a above water return, so we're adding lots of oxygen and removing lots of CO2 as well from the system, which is really good, because as we know with the nitrogen cycle it does use up oxygen, so we want to be oxygenating our tank or pond as much as possible, and although it doesn't use that much oxygen, the water plants as well will obviously respire, and they do use a lot of oxygen, especially at night when they're photosynthesizing in the day, producing the oxygen. At night they will use up that oxygen and produce CO2. So we want to make sure if we have a heavily planted system, we want to be having lots of surface agitation, lots of surface movement, ripples, bubbles, etc. so we can maintain nice levels of oxygen so our fish can complete their daily activities and have a heightened metabolism so they can eat lots of food and grow nice and fat, essentially, because we all love our fancy goldfish to be nice, fat, round, chubby little water piggies like we can see on here. The ranchu in here are absolutely gorgeous, really nice size, and they're looking really healthy. So now we've covered the plants because that was sort of the main feature of the pond. Let's have a look at what the actual pond is made of. So looking at the video and looking at the past couple of minutes, it looks like this pond is actually made of a plastic, and is actually a plastic, potentially water trough. I know especially in America they do sell these large tubs or large ponds which are actually around 300 gallons, and they use them, I believe, on farms as like cattle feeding troughs or cattle drinking troughs, etc. so they're normally fairly cheap, but they do have a huge surface area, and especially with a preformed pond rather than a liner pond, you will have less creases, less divots, etc. for dirt and mulm to settle into. So if you do need to gravel vac something like this or remove any water out of it, generally it's quite easy to keep clean. You can put a large pump in the bottom, mix up the substrate or mix up the bottom if you don't have any substrate, and that pump will help suck out all of that mulm and all of the detritus, and you can use it for fertilizing your plants or vegetables or anything like that. So we are now coming to the end of the pond video. Just having one last quick shot at the fish. Looking at the fish, doesn't look to be too overstocked at all. I reckon they could easily double, triple, even quadruple the number of fish in here, but I assume they are absolutely so happy and healthy in this system, and I really love this pond. A great pond and something to aspire to in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Tank Tours, and I really love the pond that we had featured on the channel today. I tried to keep that intro short because I really wanted to show you guys this amazing setup and the really cool fish that this YouTuber has, and I'm going to put a link down in the description to the original video where I actually got this from, because I saw it whilst I was watching a few videos on fancy goldfish and I thought this is a great one, let's show it on the channel and let's have a little chat about it. So you may recognise also that this pond did come from the Rate My Tank series that we did last week or the week before, so you will recognise that one, and I will be doing a few more Rate My Tanks in the near future, and we'll have a few spotlight episodes like the one we have today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or queries, leave a comment down below, and if you want to have your tank or your pond featured on the channel, then leave a comment down below, or you can email me at fancygoldfishfanatics@gmail.com, and that is in the description if you want to just copy and paste the email from there. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As always, thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.